On the voting day, there were lots of problems, to do with the technology, but perhaps more so to do with the lack of training of officials to use the technology. So the voter verification devices have had technical glitches, but also it became clear that a lot of the polling officers did not know how to use them properly, and that caused the initial delays that built up the backlogs. And then we've also picked up from reports around the country that there has definitely been a lack of voter education. So the ECN, they had to start operating under a new law that only came into force in October, just like 5 or 6 weeks before the election, and that's really unacceptable, because then they had to get used to a new legal framework very quickly, and that probably impacted their training, because they couldn't really train their people until quite late in the process because they didn't know the law and the regulations, so that we shouldn't let that happen again. And now we have this long delay with the results, which I understand is for good reasons. It's to try to verify and check all the results and make sure there are no mistakes. But I understand that there was a lot of discrepancies and mistakes in the documents and forms that are being forwarded from the constituencies to the ECN, and that these then have to be sent back, and it's a big to and fro, and it takes a long time to sort out the issues. And as a result, we're now into the third day waiting for the final results.
A recent study by the IPPR predicted that the SWAPO party will win the race by miles, with public tolerance of opposition parties on the increase. The study also revealed that the SWAPO party presidential candidate, Dr. Hage Geingob, enjoyed a greater backing than the SWAPO party itself. Official opposition party contestants were also set out as being between the RDP and the DTA.
Certainly the Afrobarometer picked up that the DTA and the RDP would be neck and neck, but neither of them getting more than 10%, and it does look like there'll be something around 4% between them, with probably the DTA in the lead. So, and then we did pick up that Hage Geingob was very popular in the country. His performance ratings, his approval ratings, his trust in his leadership ratings were all very high, pushing up to 90%. And at the moment it does look like he will be about 10 percentage points ahead of the party, up in the upper 80%.
Social media played an integral part in information dissemination during elections. Many media houses used this platform to keep thousands of Namibians in the loop on the stance of the elections at all hours of the day. Preliminary results as well as predictions were circulating the web long before the Electoral Commission of Namibia gave out any information. Voters around the country also used this platform to have their voices heard.
It would be a really useful means for the politicians to communicate with the public and exchange ideas about policies, laws, things that are happening in the country, but I don't think we're quite at that stage because the politicians aren't ready. The public is ready, but the politicians aren't ready to use it in that way. And maybe they just see it as being a propaganda tool, but you can't use social media just for propaganda because it's interactive and you're going to get challenged by the public all the time.
The Institute for Public Policy Research will be assembling their own report on the stance of elections from their point of view, which will be handed to the Electoral Commission of Namibia.